The Evermore podcast is now sponsored by WFST Total Compliance. WFST provides fire safety requirements UK-wide to prepare you and your employees should the worst happen. Do what you do best and visit wfst.co.uk today. Enjoy the episode. Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the Evermore YouTube channel. It's Chris back with the match reaction to a pretty crap Newcastle United performance today. Actually, not used to saying that. We went down 2-0 at the Vitality Stadium against Eddie Howe's old team, Bournemouth, and we were lucky that it wasn't more than that. The lads were really poor today. None of the big team players really showed up. We're going to do a quick review about this and just talk a little bit about the game. There won't be many highlights about this game, that's for sure. But just before we do, a little reminder, as we always say, if you haven't already, please click subscribe. We'd love you to come and join us. We're over 5,700 subs, so loads of room for you guys on the channel. It's ever growing. We are quite a baby in terms of the YouTube world, but we've had loads of great reactions and loads of you guys clicking that button, so we really appreciate it. Like the video too if you're watching. It really helps the channel grow with the old algorithms and everything else. If you want to give back as well, there is a membership option, which is less than £2 a month, less than a pint of lager, which I'm sure many of us will be using to drown our sorrows after that game tonight. So smash that button. We are live tonight as well. We've got loads of you already in the comments. We'll get stuck right into that in a minute. We can see loads of comments flying in. I'm going to try and get myself back on track here for everything else that we can do. We've got Brian in there saying, yeah, pile of shite, not very good at all. We've got Ian saying, Pope, Lascelles and Richie need to fuck off away from this club. Absolutely dreadful. How hangers on, new striker, keeper, centre-back, required shambles, can't play twice a week. We'll get into more of these in a minute, guys. But just before we do, let's look at the lineup if you didn't see it already. The big news, really, I suppose, the big news was no Callum Wilson whatsoever. And just going back to Brian's comment about a striker there, I think this just highlights even more the mistake the club made in the summer by not buying another striker. We knew Isak had injury problems. He's got him again. We know Callum Wilson's got injury problems. He's got him again. And we don't have a centre forward. I don't care what anybody else says. Anthony Gordon is not a centre forward. I think it's unfair to shove him in that position and expect him to perform miracles. January can't come soon enough, in my opinion, to add to this squad. But the other good bit of news, I suppose, in Bruno's absence was the Premier League debut of Louis Miley. We're all really excited about this kid and seeing what he's able to do in the Premier League. More on him in a minute. But I was really excited to see that. And it was quite interesting to see that Livramento didn't start. Lewis Hall did at left back. I think Trippier's knackered. He needs a rest. And I think tonight was more evident of that. And everyone else kind of picks itself. The bench, horrific. Could have been a Steve Bruce bench, to be honest with you. But we still went into this game with a bit of confidence because Bournemouth are sitting in the bottom three. They're not a great side. And we thought we had enough in the locker, really, to beat them. And boy, howdy were we wrong. The first half, there's no highlights, really, really poor. I think Sean Longstaff has a good attempt on goal. But basically, everybody really poor. Passing off. Rattled, defensively disorganised, nothing up top. Gordon just kind of running into blind alleys, really. He's not a centre forward, as I say. We're asking a hell of a lot of him to throw him up there, expect him to do something. I'm not going to blame the lad. The only shining light for me in the first half was Louis Miley. I thought Louis Miley was fantastic for making your Premier League debut. Didn't look awed at all. Comfortable on the ball, calm, composed. I was a bit pissed off with Trippier actually in the first half that he kept bypassing him. He kept seeing every time Miley was kind of dropping deep a little bit into that role, kind of in between the back four and the midfield and the strikers. Trippier just completely ignored him so many times. He sprayed balls to the side of the pitch. He dinked balls over his head to Shaw, and when Shaw got the ball or Shea got the ball, he wouldn't look for Miley. I don't know whether they just didn't back the kid's ability, but every time he got the ball, for me, when he was under pressure, he looked really calm and composed. He got it and hit nice, simple passes left, right. You know, he didn't overcomplicate things, which unfortunately a lot more of his experienced teammates did, and put us under lots of pressure. So I was really impressed with the lad in the first half. He put a barnstorming tackle in just on the edge of the box at Bournemouth as well, but he looked like a veteran flying in with those kind of challenges. And I thought it was absolutely fantastic to see the lad doing that. Nick Pope played well as well, in all fairness to Nick Pope. I know Ian's given Nick Pope a 9 there, I think he said. He was doing really, really well. Nick Pope made some really good saves in that first half. We went in at 0-0, which I was absolutely astounded at, because Bournemouth were huffing and puffing. They just couldn't blow the house down. But again, Trippier was really poor, heavy touches, looks leggy, giving the ball away, undercooking his passes. Miggy looked knackered. He went down injured again. So that's another injury to add to this ever-growing list. Fabian Schär went down with an injury. Thank God he got back up. And every time a player goes down for Newcastle now, you're just thinking they're going to be 3 or 4 months out and due surgery. It's really worrying. And I think it's a kind of it's an example of two things. One, how thin the squad is and still is. And even though we went and bought a few players in the summer, we didn't have enough players, in my opinion, to fatten out the depth of the squad. We've got a lot of players, as some of the guys have mentioned in the comments, that really shouldn't be here anymore. We should have said, thanks for everything, guys. Off you pop. We're going to upgrade in your position. The likes of Matt Ritchie's a great example. He works hard and he screams on a training pitch and all that stuff, but he can't really do it in the Premier League anymore. He's way too old. His legs are shattered to pieces. Gone. Should have been gone. We didn't sign a number 6. We got rid of Shelvin, didn't really sign that replacement. We signed Tonali. Again, whatever you want to make about that, but the kid can't play for 10 months. So we're screwed in that position as well. I'm not going to run the lads down, because I think, as Jack said there, we are down to the bare bones and the lads are shattered. But some of the senior lads should demand more themselves. And I agree with that, Jack. I think they've let themselves down tonight. I think Trippier in particular, Lascelles, Longstaff was poor tonight as well. I watched that young boy in midfield, Louis Miley, who's 17-year-old, and he should look like a bag of nerves. And he looked like the more experienced one out of the three of them, to be honest with you. Willock was poor tonight, didn't use the ball very well at all, certainly in the first half. He came more into it in the second half. In the first half, he was really poor. He's running up, blind alleys. He was taking heavy touches. He was losing the ball. Joe Linton was the same. I think, Ronald kind of sums it up there. Basically, we were shite tonight. Really, there's no doubt about that. Henry's saying a game too far. We knew it was coming with injuries and the amount of games. To be fair, Henry, I think Dortmund was a game too far. We can't keep saying game too far every time the lads put in a bit of a shady performance. They were better in Germany than they were tonight. They were really, really poor tonight. Now, I know we were missing Bruno Guimaraes, but I don't really think that was the reason that we were that poor, and I really hope that it wasn't. But because I think Miley stepped in and made a good fist of replacing Bruno in that side. Let's be honest, Bruno hasn't been great either this season. He's not really hit the heights. Maybe 1 or 2 games really where you've said, right, that's the Bruno that we that we know and we love. But I just think that he's not been great this season. So it's not like we missed him completely. We missed Isak and we missed Wilson. If we had that attacking threat at the focal point of the team, we might have had a chance to get in this game. The green kit needs to go, brings nothing but bad luck. I think if the green kit was to go, I think a lot of people would be happy with that. I think, especially with the controversy that's around it. Ian saying, pot noodle hamstrings, Wilson can't play 5 games in a row, bust the bank, buy Osimhen, fuck FFP. I don't disagree, and I think that we need to go big. I think on a centre forward, we need a contingency plan for Callum Wilson. Maybe signing him in January isn't a good idea, because you don't get good value for money. Maybe it's the end of the season where we buy that player that replaces Wilson. But we need a third striker. I know we'll be linked to this young Brazilian striker, Leonardo. He's the one that we should go and get. If he's 25 million quid, go and buy him, put him in his squad. He'll give you some kind of attacking threat. We bought the young boy Parkinson on tonight, and he just looked overawed by the occasion. Louis Miley didn't, but Parkinson did. And he's not ready for first team action. If you can't do something against Bournemouth, I'm sorry, son, you're not ready for first team action, in my opinion. And that's basically what I think about that. Marcus is in the comments saying I've travelled around 15,000 miles this year for Newcastle. I'm so happy. So many young players of England, holy shit. Fair play, Marcus. You're taking the positive out of the occasion. Ty saying Pope played well. Not sure what you're on about. Saying get away from the club. No, Pope did play well, to be fair. He had to. If Pope hadn't played as well as he played, Ty, I think it would have been about 5-0 to Bournemouth, and rightly so. Graham's saying, tough day, better team won. You're right, absolutely. Just one match too many with injuries. We had no striker to lead the line. Shame trips is going to England. No energy and sloppy passing. They all need a rest. They do, but I mean, I'll get into this in a minute, but just going on to the goals themselves, really, to give Bournemouth the credit they deserve. They pushed and they pressed, and they were fully deserving of the goal. Fabian Schär asleep, the cells all over the place, the full backs all over the place. Solanke comes in, finish. If you think Pope should save it or not, I don't know, but it sneaks in the bottom of the net, and then after that, it's a goal. The cross comes in. They think it might hit his hand. VAR check it afterwards. It never hit his hand. I mean, a lovely little improvised finish by Solanke, little back heel in the top corner. Excuse me, a little drink, and it was a good finish. And they were good for their lead. And I think, to be honest with you, they should have had 3 or 4. I think if Solanke was more clinical, I know he got 2 today, but Solanke was more of a clinical finisher. We're 5-0 down against Bournemouth at the Vitality. That's a dreadful result for a team that's got eyes on the top 4. And the squad isn't deep enough for top 4. It really, really isn't. These injuries have all come at once, and it isn't good. But you have to start asking the question, is it to do with the manager not rotating the squad enough? We'll probably do a little bit more on this, in a bit more detail, maybe in a separate video. But I love Eddie Howe a bit. He's been brilliant for Newcastle, and I'm not slagging him off in any possible way. But he demands a lot of his players. He demands intensity, and he demands pressing, and he demands that kind of that overexertion from his players. And if you're going to do that to players, you need to rotate your squad, or you're going to burn them out. And it looks like a lot of them are burnt out. And when you get burned out, you get muscle injuries, you get knee injuries, you get niggly injuries that can keep you out for weeks and months at a time. And I have a feeling that this is what's happening to the squad right now. The reluctance to rotate the squad is now starting to show. And that's why we're having these kind of injuries going on. Yes, the key players have got bad injury records. Wilson, definitely. Isak, bad injury record since he's been here. I know he hasn't had that before in his career, but he's had it when he's been here. But I do think we're going to have to go out in January, add some real quality to this squad. So you've got a good 11, but you've got a good 5 or 6 or 7 that can come in and do the job in the Champions League against the top 4 in the Premier League. Because yes, you're right. If Murphy had been fit, he'd have played. If Barnes had been fit, he'd have played. If Tonali hadn't been suspended, he'd have played. That's 3 there. Isak, Wilson, you've got 5 good players there that can come in to the 11 or the 14 and make the squad better. But top and bottom of us don't have those players. So, we need to go out and buy at least 2 or 3, in my opinion. You're talking 150, 200 million spent in January. FFP be damned, because if we want to finish top 4 and we want to try and make a fist of it in the league this season, and if we get any further in the Champions League, we need better players. Brian is saying that Louis Miley, young kid, was most composed in the field. 100%, mate. 100%. Ian saying buying players for the future is hurting us at the moment. Didn't improve our first 11. I don't disagree with that. I think people like Livramento will improve our 11. Lewis Hall, I like him as a player, but he's flawed defensively, is what I would say. And I think that's why he keeps getting hooked. I think he was unlucky tonight, because I think Trippier was stinking the Vitality out. I'd have hooked Trippier and I'd have put Livramento on. He was offering very little, was Kieran Trippier, because he's knackered. And he will play for England when he goes away. And he'll be even more knackered when he comes back. So resting Kieran Trippier in this game wouldn't have been the worst thing in the world. And I really think Eddie got that one wrong. I think he really should have rested him. Also, another thing that I think he got wrong was hooking off Louis Miley for Parkinson. I thought that was poor. A poor selection from Eddie Howe. I thought Miley was good on the ball. He was the only one that looked like he was going to do something. He could have made that killer pass. He could have took a shot from distance. I think Louis Miley deserved a little bit longer on the park. Just to let you know what he did on the park. So he had 66 minutes in that game. Louis Miley had 35 of his 40 passes accurate. So that's an 88% passing accuracy there. He got 2 of the long balls that he hit on target. He won 1 of his 2 ground duels, and he won 1 of his 1 aerial duels. He only lost the ball 6 times, 3 clearances, 2 interceptions, and 1 tackle. Now, for a boy at 17, making his debut in the Premier League, I think that is a bloody good fist. And I say fair play to him. If you compare him to, say, Sean Longstaff, for example, just trying to look at Sean's statistics here, if the thing lets me do it. For some reason, it's not letting me do it, so I'll look at it again in a minute. But yeah, Sean wasn't great tonight. I thought he ran up a lot of blind alleys, and I just don't think he did as good of a job, really, in terms of what he normally could do. Here we go. Yeah, so Sean's passing accuracy is 82%. Again, he won 4 of his 8 ground duels. He won none of his aerial duels. He lost the ball 9 times. No interceptions, 1 tackle. So he didn't have as good of a game as Louis Miley, in my opinion. So, but Sean is one of Eddie's favourites, so he stayed in the park. George is saying just looks like a squad that has a handbrake on right now. Literally got an entire side worth of players out injured, which is very true, George. What is he saying there? Yeah, mate, I don't know. I don't even know how to respond to that one. It's just, I think it just shows you how poor and not poor, sorry, how thin the squad is, and how we got the transfer activity maybe slightly wrong in the summer. Maybe buying 2 or 3 first team players as opposed to ones that will improve your squad for the future is maybe the better thing we should have done. Kevin saying, I don't know what everyone else thinks, but I don't think Lascelles is a captain. I think he has been captain material in the past. Some of the stuff he's done, the Southampton thing and all that stuff. But I think the problem is with Lascelles, he's a limited player. He's been playing way above himself over the last few weeks, and we've got to give him the praise for that, since Botman's been out. But that team misses Botman 100%. When Sven Botman's fit, he walks back into that team. I'm sorry, to say that, Jamal Lascelles has done a very admirable job, but throw Botman back in that back four, and the back four looks much better. Even at the minute you put Burn back in over Hall, because Hall looks flawed defensively. Burn will give you some more solidity in defensive capabilities at the back. He's shit going forward, but he defends well. And when you've got a way of giving you some bother like we had tonight, Dan Burn is a better option, to be fair. But we, haven't got these lads back, and we're going to have to plan for them for at least a few weeks out injured. So we're going to have to use the squad the best that we can. But it's not looking good at the minute, to be honest with you. We've had some good results, probably over, in terms of abilities and capabilities and what you think the squad was capable of doing. But it is going to catch up on you soon. And tonight, we looked absolutely on our arse tonight, to be honest with you. It was really, really poor. As Paul says there, he hasn't seen us play like this since Bruce was the manager. Could have been 4 or 5. Absolutely poor. I think that's the poorest I've seen us play probably since that Leicester game. I think we got battered by Leicester. Keg saying Trippier is tired. He can't play last few games, Eddie, instead of taking Trippier, change with Livramento, change Lewis Hall. Yeah, exactly what I said there, mate. I think Trippier definitely should have been hooked. Tonali ain't winning these games for us. Absolutely, Judge. He's not, even if he's available. I do totally agree with that. I mean, the Tonali deal starting to look worse and worse, really, isn't it? Let's be honest with you. I don't want to sound too harsh, but he wasn't at number 6. He seems to have what's the word, restricted Bruno's progress in terms of the player that Bruno is for us. I don't know where Tonali even played in our midfield when he was available, and then he got done, for gambling. Now he's out for 10 months. Where's this club going to be in 10 months when this kid comes back? That's the question I'll ask everybody. He might not get in this team at all. He might never play for Newcastle again. They might just cut the losses and get rid and bin him back to Serie A. But, we didn't need a player that was going to be suspended for 10 months or a player that was going to stamp all over Bruno's toes. And we signed that player, and I'm not sure it was the right signing. And I've said that before. Williamson, I wanted the club can get the rest crossed to sponsors. Absolutely. I think Art and Deck are going to be in the squad next game, William. I think that's how bloody short we are on the ground. Michael saying the squad's simply too small. Yeah, sooner we're out of the Champions League, the better. Premier League is more important. I don't disagree with that, Michael. I think you're right. We haven't got the squad to battle on all these fronts, really. I think we are missing at least 3 or 4 more bodies. Yeah, of course, you throw Harvey Barnes in, Zach Wilson, Murphy, even likes a man Keogh and players like that who have got experience. They're fattening the squad out, but the squad is wafer thin right now, and our academy isn't good enough. We've had a few good players coming through the academy. Louis Miley was brilliant tonight, as I said there. He looks a real player. Elliot Anderson looks a good player. We've got the Longstaff boys, but Dummett, Carroll. But outside of that, we haven't really had a conveyor belt of quality young players coming through. Where you see Liverpool always have good players coming through. Manchester United have always had it. Villa have always been quite good, but there's always about 4 or 5 of them that look like they can do a job. We don't have that level of player in the academy. We haven't done for years. It's always 1 player or 2 players. It's never 4 or 5 players that can come in and do a job. So to look at those young lads on the bench, I'm not going to be too hard on Parkinson because he's a young lad, but he was nowhere near ready for Premier League action there tonight when he come on. He just didn't look like a Premier League player at all. Miley did, but he didn't. And that's just the way it is. Ian has thrown his hat in the ring. He will play as a striker. Fair play, Ian. I'm sure you can do a job, mate. I'm sure you can do a job. We've got a comment there from Hayden. So he's saying, as a Bournemouth fan of the match, Gordon is the real deal. It was your only bright spark in that team as well. And Miley, who put a top shape. Well, thanks for jumping on, Hayden. Really appreciate that, mate. And a great win for you guys. You massively deserved it. And I hope that's something that kicks your season off and gets you out of that relegation fight and back into a decent position in the Premier League. So I like Bournemouth as a club. Obviously, there's a real connection with our manager and and yourselves and everything else. And I think you were great for the win tonight and played really, really well. And you've had loads of injuries too. People forget that. Bournemouth had loads of injuries. So fair play. Two for Life saying, no excuses from me. Give Bournemouth the credit. They outplayed us tonight. Absolutely. I've just said the same. Time for the lads to go get some much needed rest. I don't disagree with that whatsoever. Kev said he thinks we look very tired. We do. Kev, we look really, really tired. This is what I mean. I think that squad rotation needs to happen more in terms of Eddie Howe's mentality. I think he maybe sees that now. He looked absolutely forlorn on the sideline, didn't he? Blowing his cheeks on everything. You're right, Jason. World-class save from Pope at the end. Could have easily been 3-0 or worse if it hadn't been for Pope. Wayne is saying we were totally crap. We made them look like world beaters. But you've got to put in the shift to get the result, and Bournemouth did that, Wayne, to be fair. So we've got to say, fair play to them. Yeah, you're right, Jack. The save was outrageous from Nick Pope. Comment there from the Zig saying, I feel like Howe might have brought on some of these problems himself. He's never had a European campaign, so maybe he's been a bit too loyal with respect to rotation. We shouldn't have this many. That's similar to what I said earlier on as well, Zig, that I just think that maybe Eddie has overused these players, and if you push them that hard, you are going to get a little bit of this burnout. Don't you worry, mate. I have seen that. We won't be pulling them up. Don't you worry about it. I'm too sharp for those guys. Too sharp. What else have we got here? So we've got a comment there from Paolo saying Manchester United have been shit and they're above us. We could have gone fifth with a win. Every team has injuries. If the 11 players on the pitch can't win this game, then sell most of them, no rotation. I wouldn't say sell most of them, because then we'd have no team. But I get your point. I get the sentiment. You'd like to think we had enough to beat that team tonight, but Bournemouth brought it, and we didn't. Our senior players didn't show up. And we said a similar thing against Dortmund, didn't we? The senior lads didn't show up, and I think a lot of the senior lads tonight were outshone by a 17-year-old boy who made his Premier League debut. And that's, they've got to own that. They've got to go home and take that on board. And if Trippier watches that game back 3 times, like he watched the Arsenal game back, he'll see how poor he was. Jack saying that Liverpool suffered like this. Yeah, I think, possibly. Yeah, Liverpool, they had a bit of a European hangover as well, so to speak. Yeah, so what else have we got there? Yeah, Jason's saying we need this break. We absolutely do. I suppose man of the match then. It's very tough to say. Nick Pope is very close, in my opinion, for my man of the match because of all the brilliant saves that he made. And he probably will get most people's man of the match. But for my man of the match, I'm going to go with Louis Miley, because to be 17 years old and make your debut like that and be as composed and calm on the ball and come looking for the ball like you did, and don't look out of place and don't look phased by the occasion when your senior colleagues around you are stuttering and faltering, and you stand above them head and shoulders. I'm going to give the boy the man of the match for me. I know Pope's probably going to get it in most people's eyes, but for me, yeah, Louis Miley's my man of the match. Let us know, guys, who your man of the match is. I'll catch up with all the comments soon enough, and we'll find out who you think is man of the match before we shoot off. Yeah, Peter saying Poor tonight, 12 injured now. Didn't look like scoring, to be fair. Yeah, the Miggy one's a bad one. I can see Yankuba Minter coming back in January if Miggy's injured again. And if it's a bad one, I can definitely see that happening. Marcus saying Eddie Howe is definitely the best thing for Newcastle in my lifetime. And he's got Kevin Keegan's statue in his garden. There's no one's turning on Eddie Howe, but it's okay to say that was poor, and fans need to know that. It's okay to say that was poor tonight. It's okay to be disappointed in players' performances. We're football fans. We're allowed to do that. We can still support the team. We're not going to turn on them, but we can still say that was a poor game tonight, and then most people should be saying that. Malcolm saying that performances were not a top 6 side. Still need more players if we're going to progress. Don't disagree, Malcolm, especially in January. I said we need some game changers when we went to the Champions League. Players like Chiesa from Juventus would have been a perfect signing for us. Champions League experience, a match winner. Even Moussa Diaby went to Aston Villa. Champions League experience, a match winner. We didn't sign either one of them. We relied on Miggy Almiron. And obviously, Harvey Barnes was signed. Barnes is injured. Mickey goes up and down in terms of form. And I think we should have signed some more accomplished players to play at that top level. And we could have had a Champions League team and a Premiership team and maybe rotate the squad a little bit better than what we've been doing. So, but hindsight's a wonderful thing. Paul saying Pope saved us. Hammering, yeah. Gordon played well. Just not want to pick up front. Yeah, midfield didn't turn up. Back 4 shaky from the start. Yeah, the back 4 is desperately in need of a serious dose of Sven Botman, in my opinion. Sensible is saying Eddie had a mare tonight. He's probably suffering from the intensity. He should enjoy the break. He clearly needs one. I think you're right, Monica. I think he does. He does need a break, Eddie. Yeah, he's probably feeling that now. I don't think he's ever had as many injuries as he said that, didn't he? In terms of his his managerial career. He's never had as many injuries as that, to be fair. We've got a comment here from the New Monkeys. Back in the hotel, what a depressing performance. Injuries and suspensions. It can't be helped, but can't say much about it, to be honest. Yeah, if you're down at the game, Monkey, I hope you did enjoy the experience of going and everything else. But yeah, it's a shame that you've gone all that way, mate, to watch that. But listen, hopefully the lads will bounce back after the international break with Isak coming back as well, because my God, we need someone up there. We need a focal point. Abacus is saying could have been 4 or 5. Absolutely. We've got injuries to, but some key players were dire tonight. They really, really were. They were poor. They were really poor tonight, the senior players. And I just think that, for me, you need your senior players to step up in games like that, because that was a bit of a dogfight tonight in terms of Bournemouth. In the bottom 3, they need to get out. They need to start picking up results. And I think they must have smelled blood with us. They must have felt it, that we were probably leggy and a bit tired in the first 5 or 10 minutes. And they just turned the screw, and they just thought, let's go for it. And they well deserved their win. Fingers crossed for Longstaff's injury actually cushy. But I suppose the good thing is he's not being called up to England. Neither was Anthony Gordon. So, they'll have time to rest up and everything as well. Yeah, Ian saying by January all the players will be back. Yeah, most likely, Ian. But I think it's more the long term, isn't it? Really, it's certainly in the centre forward position. For me, the 2 big players that you sign in January are a defensive midfielder or a Tonali replacement, if you will, and the centre forward. Now, whether that centre forward is a backup centre forward that's happy to play, beneath Isak and Wilson when they rotate, when they're fit, or if it's a proper centre forward to put pressure on the both of them and maybe be Wilson's long-term replacement, then Wilson becomes the third striker, and it's between Isak and this new guy. Whoever it may be, we need a centre forward. We need someone that can get goals, somebody who can occupy the defence, somebody who's busy in the box, somebody who's good for a goal. We need a player like that. And, one thing's for sure, we won't be sure as shite be able to loan Karim Benzema or Cristiano Ronaldo because the Premier League will be stopping us doing that crap, won't they, with this corrupt law changes that they're doing. I don't think they'll be able to do the sponsorship one, though. Again, more on that. Stay tuned to the channel. Yeah, the Zig is saying that Szoboszlai or Maddison was the midfielder we needed. I don't disagree with either one of those, Zig. I think they would have been brilliant signings. The Maddison one is still a head scratcher for me. I know he's injured now. Everyone says he's injured now, but hindsight's a wonderful thing. He's been excellent for Spurs early on in the season, and he could have been a real game changer, one of those players that can turn a game on a sixpence. Miggy has moments like that, but they're too fleeting. They're not more consistent, and that's the issue that I think we have. But yeah, those are the kind of players that I was thinking about that we should have really signed in the summer, at least one of those types of players. I just don't feel that we did, to be honest with you. What else have we got here? I'm just looking at the comments. Yeah, there's a few little rogue bellends in the comments. I think Mark's and the admin getting shot on them, guys. So don't get too worried about them. I think they're just trying to stir some bother because obviously they've got no other decent fan podcasts of their own. Comment there from John saying that throughout the game we seemed we were under pace, surrounded to prevent our closed ball counter play, weakness down the backside, are plaguing us in formation issue. So not so much individual. Maybe we have been found out a little bit, John. I think that's what you're trying to say. That possibly something that we need to work on the training pitch, really. I thought Willock was better in the second half, but it took him a long time to get in the game. And I just think, unfortunately, it was a bit poor from the senior players. Mark says Nick Pope for his man of the match, as does Ronald as well. Absolutely, I can't disagree with that. I'm giving it to the young lads. I just thought he was absolutely brilliant. A couple of comments there about Willock. Didn't look interested. He was absolutely terrible. Should have took him off. Yeah, I'd have took Willock off ahead of Miley, I must admit. But obviously I didn't want to do that because Willock has that ability to run at teams and maybe just sneak in, which he nearly did a couple of times towards the end, but it was just a little bit too late. And I agree with that. Magpies Richie is well finished. I'd have got rid of Richie way before now. I can't believe he got a new contract. Dumb it, I get, because of the defensive side, but I just think that I'd have got rid of Richie. Brian is saying, how can I give man the match to any that performance? Yeah, worst performance you've seen already. How? Well, I had to give it to somebody, mate, because I'm not going to give it to a Bournemouth player because I'm not Sky. But yeah, for me, I just think that Miley was brilliant in his debut in a really crap game, where his colleagues let him down, his teammates let him down effectively. And yeah, for me, I give it to the young lad. Abacus is saying again, Maddison should have been brought instead of Tonali, proven honest Premier League player. I do totally agree with that. Again, the Tonali deal to me looks worse and worse as the months go by. How exactly were we supposed to sign all these players you mentioned, said Simon. Money, mate, money. Go and sign them. Everyone's obsessed with financial fair play and everything else, which is fair play. But if you get in the knockout stage of the Champions League, you get more millions. And if you finish in top 4, you get even more millions as well. So That's how you do it. You just got to do it. But to be fair, Maddison, he was only £2 million more than Harvey Barnes was, and he was £10 million less than Tonali. So, if we signed Tonali, we could have signed Maddison. At least one of them would have been able to play and not being fucking suspended for 10 months because he's a gambling addict. So that's the way we look at that one. Magpies are saying Chiesa, we've no chance of getting. But he's doing the rounds in January, Magpies, so we'll wait and see what happens with that one, mate. Ian says Joe Linton was poor tonight. He was poor. But he's been really good the last few weeks, Joe Linton, so I'm not going to give him too much grief, to be honest with you. What we've got here, comment there from Adrai saying, hi, Chris. Newcastle saying Nico Williams. Yeah, I imagine you mean the one from Spain. Yeah, Joachim Anderson would be a decent one. Antonio Silva's a brilliant centre-half. Calvin Phillips, yeah. It's a lot of players, though. That's going to be about 300 million quid in January, especially, mate. But, yeah, I don't think Wilson will turn up for England. I don't think that's going to happen, Mark. I think he'll be absolutely dropping out of that squad. I'd be stunned if he doesn't do that. I would be absolutely stunned. A couple of more comments, guys, before we disappear. Comment there from Lee Thompson. Maddison didn't want to come. He wasn't an option. Well, we don't really know that, Lee. That's just what's doing the rounds. You'd have to ask James Maddison himself to get that definitive answer. But that's what everyone seems to think. He didn't want to come here. Simon said he wanted to go to London. But again, nobody knows that for a fact unless you speak to James Maddison, really do it. So I'm not going to speculate too much on that. But, Diaby would have been a good signing for Aston Villa. You can't deny that one. He might have come here. If we put the bidding for him for the same cost that Villa had gone for him, I think he would have been a better sign than Tonali as well. He would have given us something more than Tonali gave us. Tonali basically came in and was a player who was trying to play the same position as Bruno. So again, as I say, that deal just doesn't make any sense to me. The more and more I look at it, yes, the gambling thing's an easy thing to say, but the more and more I look at him, it's just the way it is, isn't it? Really. A couple more comments just before we shoot. Got what he is saying. Hi, Chris. I've already said that one. Sorry, I've already read that one. That's a duplicate comment there. But yeah, I think that's just pretty much wrapped up, guys, to be honest with you. So just disappointing defeat going into the national break. But it's not the end of the world. We're still in a half-decent league position. We're still in the Champions League. We have got a chance to do something in terms of that. But it is what it is. You got to take it on the chin. Massive credit to Bournemouth. I think they played really well today. They really deserved it. We didn't turn up. We didn't show up. Like I said, the best player for us was the goalkeeper, the 17-year-old lad making his debut. So, that is what it is. This is going to happen. When you're playing on all these different fronts and you're stretching the squad. Sorry, I'm just looking at a comment there. Popping up, it's distracting me there. I'll have one more then. Let's have a look here. What we've got there. Asia R, big fan of your channel. It was a disgrace today, not a team effort. Even though we have many injuries, we should. I think the player that started should have had that game. Yeah, absolutely, mate. Fair enough, mate. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I think, like I say, on the chin, we'll have the international break. A few of the players are away in international breaks, but the ones who are injured will have time to rest up. Isak's a huge one. Get him back after a national break and let's go again. Me and Mark will be back what's going on Monday just to wrap up on things, I'm sure, and then have a cracking night, whatever you're doing. Everybody, as I mentioned at the start, if you haven't already, subscribe. Love you to come join us. Over 5,700 subs. Loads of room for you. Loads of content here. Normally a lot more cheery than this one, but hey, you win, you lose, you draw. We support the lads nonetheless. Have a cracking day wherever you are, everyone, and we'll see you later. Take it easy. Bye-bye.